And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions.
Welcome to the Launchpad. I'm your host, Harry Washington, and today we have a very special guest from the Electric Vehicle Association of Greater Washington, D.C., Mr. Charlie Garlow. Welcome to the show, Charlie.
Thanks, Harry. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, if I understand you're the president, how long have you been the president of the organization?
Well, I've only been president for the last couple of years, but before that I was vice president for many years.
Okay.
So I've been active in the EVADC, as we call it, Electric Vehicle Association of D.C.
Now, what's the mission of the Electric Vehicle Association of Greater Washington, D.C.?
Well, we are promoting electric vehicles as something that is good for our country. We're an educational organization, a nonprofit, and there are many benefits to electric vehicles, which I'm sure we can talk about.
Exactly.
But amongst them are clean air, reducing costs, and having to not import so much oil from overseas.
Okay. Now, when was the organization established?
Right after the 1979 oil crisis. You may remember back then, or are you too young?
Right. I probably wouldn't remember that.
Well, in 1979, there was a terrible time because they cut off some oil supply, and people were lined up outside their gas lines, and everybody thought, why don't we have electric vehicles?
Right.
Shortly after that, our organization was founded in 1980.
Okay, and I went to your website. There's a number of members that you have, but what are some of the backgrounds of those members?
Well, we draw people from a number of areas, people who are like myself, lawyers, we have engineers, a lot of mechanics, inventors, entrepreneurs. Right. We've got teachers, professors of all kinds, handicraft people, carpenters, all sorts of people are interested in these sorts of things to make a better world for our country.
Now, what interests you in having an electric vehicle?
I come at this from my profession, which is I'm an attorney working on clean air issues.
Okay.
So I'm an environmentalist, if you will.
Exactly.
And no horns on me here yet. But a lot of people think that about environmentalists, but we're, 98% of Americans think the environment is very important. So
exactly.
I think it's very mainstream. But since I was interested in clean air, and I knew that a lot of the pollution, air pollution in this country comes from cars, trucks, and buses, it makes natural sense that I'd want to get involved in electric vehicles because they have no tailpipe emissions.
Exactly.
And to the extent that we get our electricity from clean, renewable energy like solar and wind, then we have zero pollution from all electric vehicles that way.
Now, how long have you owned your electric vehicle?
Well, I've owned a number of electric vehicles over the years. The one that I have right now is a hot red electric Porsche.
Oh, wow.
With a removable roof, so I can be a convertible,
Okay.
And I put solar panels on the front and the back.
Okay.
But I've only owned it since September.
Okay.
Before that, I had a Chevy S10 pickup truck that was all electric, no gasoline. And before that, I had a Dodge Omni, which was a two-door sedan, which was all electric too. So I've never, of course, we own a Toyota Prius hybrid, gasoline hybrid. My wife drives that most of the time. Very nice car. But I have never owned any one of these vehicles that is electric with gasoline backup, like the Chevy Volt, which is a very nice car.
Right. Now, how long does it take you to build these vehicles?
Well, the Porsche was a conversion, so building it was quite an effort.
Sure.
This was not done by the professionals at Chevrolet or Nissan or these other places. So it probably took 600 hours time to rip out the gas guts out of that Porsche and put in the electric guts and the motor and the batteries and the wiring and everything else that you need in there. If we do it again the second time, we'll probably not make as many mistakes as we did the first time around. It'll probably take less time. But it's a major undertaking. Not very many people have the time, effort, energy, skills, or talent, perseverance, to be able to stick with it to convert their own car to electric. So that's why most people in our electric car club are just thrilled that we now have so many nice cars available right from the dealer. Walk in, sign the dotted line, or walk out with your electric car. Kaboom.
Now, what's the reaction when people see you with this electric car?
Well, a lot of people are very excited. I've had high school guys, with big hair or whatever, come back and say, cool car, man. I thought, wow, a high school kid thinks I'm cool? That's really something there. And I've had women give me a wolf whistle,
Oh, really?
That sort of stuff.
Maybe I need to get an electric car.
Make you look 20 years younger.
Probably. Now, I know you talk about these benefits, but I guess getting to the nuts and bolts of it. What are some of the advantages, like price range, cost, and the performance of these electric vehicles?
Sure. Well, one of the things is that electric cars are the first ones that are coming on the market.
Okay.
Like the Chevy Volt, you may have heard about a considerable amount.
Right.
Nissan Leaf, that's all electric, as opposed to the Chevy Volt, which has a gasoline motor to back up the electric batteries.
Okay.
But those are all in their price range of $20,000 to $30,000, $35,000, which is right about in the sweet spot where a lot of other cars are sold.
Okay.
So it's not like, a lot of people say, wow, that's pretty expensive, isn't it, for this, that, or the other one.
Exactly.
But the prices have been coming down as more of them are being made, just like you'd think. Cheaper by the dozen, right?
Exactly.
And so there are some that are very expensive, but, there are gasoline cars that are very expensive, too.
Right. Very true.
When you buy a Maserati or a Lamborghini, that's a gasoline car. That's going to cost you $100,000.
Right.
Well, they also have the Tesla Roadster, the Tesla Model S. You might have read about some of them. Very sleek, sexy-looking car, hot performance, can go long distance on a charge.
Okay.
They're going to cost you $60,000, $80,000 for those cars, though.
Wow.
But several of our members have bought them. You'd be surprised how people have been, they've been waiting in the wilderness for the long time. They want the good stuff,
Right. So what about performance? What's the performance like for these cars?
Well, the Tesla Roadster and the Model S, which there are two models they have on the market, they have very fast performance. They're 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds or something.
Wow.
That can blow the doors off some other hot cars that you think would be out there,
Exactly.
Mustangs or Lamborghinis or whatever. And other electric cars that are not quite as expensive or not built for that kind of speed are more normal cars like you'd expect a regular family to drive. They're not going to turn in that kind of performance at the drag strip. But who cares? How many times do you want to drive your car like a drag strip before it gets old? Well, some people like knowing they've got that just in case they need it, But other people are saying, hey, this car does a great job of giving me transportation. That's what I wanted. And they will give you all the performance that you'd expect from a gasoline car. The ability to accelerate up a ramp into the freeway and catch up with traffic, all that sort of stuff.
Now, in terms of charging, how long does it take to charge these vehicles?
Well, that's a great question because there are several different ways to charge a car. My Porsche is set up right now to be charged with regular old wall socket electricity, what we call 110 voltage. Same thing you use to plug in your lamp or your hair dryer, or if you had some hair. Sorry, I had to say that.
I know, I'm sure.
I'm just teasing with you. Anyway, that's what we call level 1, or the lowest power kind of charging, which I use on my Porsche.
Okay.
Level 2 is 240 volts, which is twice that, of course. It's the same kind of electricity you would have for your electric stove or your electric dryer. A lot of people are familiar with that. Electric outdoor air conditioning unit also uses 240 volts. It's basically taking two of those 120s and wrapping the wires together. It's not that kind of rocket science or anything. But so that's not only gives you twice the voltage, it gives you twice the amperage. And as we all learned in science class, voltage times amperage equals watts. W equals VA, West Virginia. That's my home state. That's how I remember that. Anyway, so with twice the amperage and twice the voltage, you're actually getting 4 times as fast a charging with that level 2 charger, 240 volt charger, as you would with a regular lamp socket 120 volt charger. So that's considerably faster. Now, my Porsche, you want to know, it takes me about 10 hours to charge it completely up from 0. Of course, I try not to run it to 0 because then I'm stuck on the side of the road, aren't I?
Exactly.
That's no good. I always try to make it back home or to some place where I can get some more electricity so that I don't run out. But if I'm all the way near to 0 at my house and I let it sit overnight, 10 hours later, it's fully charged up.
Now, is there some kind of indicator to let you know, okay, the battery's getting low?
Oh, yeah. Sure. It's just fuel gauge, just like you'd see on a gas car.
Gotcha. I think the biggest question some people want, our viewers want to know is, what's the cost? Is it going to be a difference in my electrical, your utility bill in charging this vehicle?
Oh, that's a great story to tell because you see, electricity is used very efficiently in an electric motor. You don't have a lot of wasted energy, which is wasted money, like you do in a gasoline car. A gasoline car is wasting energy all the time through the radiator. It's throwing away heat. And through your exhaust manifolds. Not a lot of people think about their exhaust manifolds, but in this case, your air pollution is going out. Those things are red hot. Don't touch them with your hand because that's excess heat is going away. That's wasted energy. That's wasted money. And so electric motors are much cooler, Electric doesn't waste that kind of energy, and so therefore you can drive your car for about 1/4 of the cost, mile for mile, in an electric car as opposed to your gasoline car. Think of it this way. Electricity costs about the same as 75 cents a gallon equivalent.
Wow.
How do you get that? Electricity doesn't come in gallons, does it? Right?
Not at all.
No,
Not
but
at all.
if you drive a regular car, like, something, a sedan,
Okay.
1 gallon's worth of distance, that's about 30 miles. You get 30 miles a gallon.
Wow.
So if you drive that same car that's been converted to the same weight, the same size
Okay.
generally, same distance, 30 miles, how much does it cost you in electricity? If you have an electric version of it, the answer is 75 cents for that 30 miles. So it's 75 cents for a gallon's worth of electrical energy.
Right.
That's why we say 75 cents per gallon equivalent.
Right. So now, talk about the tax incentives for owning an electric vehicle.
Ah, yes. If you buy one of these new electric cars, the federal government has given it a boost in the and this was under President Bush, but also under President Obama.
Okay.
$7,500 tax credit off of your federal taxes. That's nice. Now, some states, in addition to that, have their own state incentives.
Okay.
And Maryland has a number of different incentives. We let electric cars use HOV lanes, even if you're only one person in your electric car.
Okay.
A lot of people like that.
Exactly.
Out in California, they have a similar sort of arrangement. A lot of people bought electric cars out there just so they could get into the HOV lanes, which are with just one person themselves driving the car. You're given the sales tax exemption here in the state of Maryland, so that instead of paying the 6% on a $30,000 car, that's $2,000 or something like that. You get to save that, so that's nice to have. And they're putting up a bunch of charging stations all around the state.
Excellent.
And a lot of commercial companies are putting up charging stations. So these are the level 2 charging stations, the faster ones.
Okay.
Now, let me back up a minute on that one for a minute, because there's also a level 3, if you will,
No
or
problem.
super fast charging,
Okay.
which is available for some of the vehicles are already set up to receive that kind of electricity, but there are not a lot of those charging stations yet, because that's a lot more power,
I'm sure.
and it's going to cost some more money to build those kind of charging stations. Well, they're starting to build them now, and you can charge up your car real fast in those. Instead of taking 10 hours like I do to fill mine all the way to the top, the super fast chargers can fill you up in a half an hour.
Wow.
So that's enough for you to get out, shake a leg, use the facilities, grab a quick snack or something, back to your car, boom, you're all filled up.
Wow.
The miracles of modern science, technology, engineering, and math, huh? Don't you love it?
How many electric vehicle owners are there in Maryland?
We have about 1,000, a little more than 1,000 in Maryland, but growing all the time. Especially as we're moving into summer, more people see cars like mine, and they say, I want to have one of those too, and the numbers are increasing rapidly.
Now, I'm seeing your shirt. It says what? Smart Kids, Clean Cars, and Green World. What is that? What is that?
This is a T-shirt which is promoting some of our activities as the Electric Vehicle Association to promote electric vehicle education amongst our youth, middle school students and high school students. We have 2 programs for them. Actually, our middle school students have a competition. Sometimes elementary school kids come to that competition, and they beat some of the middle school kids. It's incredible.
So what kind of competitions are we talking about?
Well, the middle school and elementary school kids have a competition called Junior Solar Sprint.
Okay.
They build their own solar electric car that's about as big as a shoebox. It's got a solar panel that looks like about the size of the shoebox top, and it has a little electric motor about as big as a 35mm film canister. People don't know what that is anymore because we don't use film in this country so much. We all have electric, digital cameras. But in any event, about that big, and there's 2 wires come off of the solar panel, black and red, red for pause, black for neg, right?
Exactly.
You hook those 2, just like jumper cables on your car if you have to give it a jump start, onto the 2 little motor mounts on the motor, and it'll make that, the sun shines on that solar panel, makes electricity, that motor goes right away, spinning around.
Excellent.
And the student's job is to connect that motor with a little gear to a drive gear on a drive axle and a little car on it, and p'twing, they take off.
Wow, that's excellent.
It's great fun.
How long has that initiative been?
We have been sponsoring the Junior Solar Sprint races for middle school students and some younger kids who might show up for the last 23 years, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a great program. We have lots of middle school students from Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C. all come and participate. We have trophies for the kids, medallions around the neck and that sort of stuff.
Now, when's the next event? I guess let our viewers know when's the next event.
Well, we hold those Junior Solar Sprint races every May, because we figured that if the school kids are working on it in school, by the time they get it built, it's going to be spring maybe, and so you want to wait till May because the sun's better than it is when you have April showers. That could wash out your races. And it's near the end of the school term, so that the kids get to have that as their crowning glory, if you will, the finish of the
Gotcha.
school year,
Yeah.
and then they get to come home with some trophies to show off to mom and dad or whatever like that. So that's a nice program we've done for a number of years, but only in May. Now, some of the schools have some of their own races in September when the sun is still good. It's not, you know, the freezing cold winter. You don't have any snow to contend with, but they can get out there and run their solar cars in their own school or in their own, you know, county or whatever they want to, while the sun is still good. They got a smooth surface like a tennis court or a basketball court, parking lot, whatever they want to use to run them. They can go run their own races. Sometimes they invite me to come and join them. But those are not what we consider the Greater Washington, D.C. big time race we always hold in May.
Now, these events are open to, your events are open to Maryland, D.C.
Maryland, D.C., and Virginia.
Oh, and
The
Virginia.
whole Greater Washington, D.C. area. That's our name.
Right.
Electric Vehicle Association of the Greater Washington, D.C. area.
And people can learn about these events by going to your website?
Oh, yes. And we're not the only ones that do the Junior Solar Sprint. There are places all over the United States that have used this same teaching module to teach these young scholars about, you know, photovoltaic effect, electric motors, gear ratios, all the sorts of science principles that they learn, and they're involved in building these cars. So even if you're watching this show from California or Colorado or Maine, there are people in those states who are running similar programs to what we run here in the Washington, D.C. area.
Now, how do you get kids involved and engaged in the Solar Sprint?
Well, usually I have to work through the science teachers. And there's a National Science Teachers Association, and so all the science teachers are always looking for interesting things to get their kids motivated to learn about science. And so I work through them and try to find some teachers who can squeeze this into their already packed curriculum. You know, it's tough to get some people to want to take the time to do this because there's so many other things they have to teach those kids.
Exactly. Now, do you think we'll reach that we will reach the million mark of electric vehicles that President Obama set for 2015?
Well, you know, Harry, I sure hope we do. And I'm not super confident that we'll be able to make it in time because, you know, with the recession and all, people didn't feel like they had as much discretionary money to be able to buy things like we had all hoped. But I'm getting more confident as the prices are coming down, as the excitement's building, that if not by 2015, at least 2016 or 2017, we're going to have 1 million electric vehicles in America on the road, and it'll be a great day because that'll cut down on our pollution. That'll save money on their fuel bill, like we were talking about, 75 cents a gallon, and not so much on, they'll be saving money on their repair bills too. You don't have any oil changes in an electric car. You don't have any water pump go bad on an electric car. You don't have any fan belts on an electric car. A lot less things to go bad and have to be repaired in an electric car. And we will avoid having to import all that oil from overseas.
Very true.
And you know, I hate to send all more of our money over there to the Middle East where a lot of people don't like us very much. You know? Somebody said we're financing both sides of the war on terror by giving them money, and then we have to pay for our own soldiers to, you know, that's a terrible thing. So if we had everybody on electric cars, we wouldn't have to spend all that money on oil.
Very true.
Wouldn't get into trouble with the oil wars, and we wouldn't be addicted to oil, as President Bush said.
Now, in closing, what do you want to tell our viewers?
Well, I'd like to say that we're starting a new program for high school kids.
Excellent.
It's called an Electrathon. They build cars that are about as wide as your chair and 8 feet long, and so you can't be too broad in the beam to get into these cars. But we've had races that go around a racetrack like a NASCAR track, and it's a great excitement. We just had our first year's run of that on June 8th, so that's an exciting new thing. And if anybody's listening to this show, they've got high school students or students who are about to get to high school, they should go to our website and see if they can get in on that program a little bit.
Excellent. Now what's the age to enter?
Well, these are high school students, so you have to be either 14 through 18, I guess is what that is.
Excellent. We'd like to thank Mr. Garlow for joining us today, as well as the Electric Vehicle Association. And those of you who have electric vehicles, we'd like to thank you as well for helping the environment. Stay tuned. We have a video from a special guest from Pepco. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marcus Beal, Pepco Media Relations Manager. I'm here to talk to you today about energy conservation versus efficiency. I'll give you a few conservation tips, and finally, I'll discuss a few career opportunities involving science, engineering, and math. The difference between energy conservation and energy efficiency is pretty clear. Reducing or going without is energy conservation. An example of this would be turning off a light bulb to reduce energy. usage. Energy efficiency basically means still getting the service that you're looking for, but using less energy, being more efficient. An example of this would be switching all of your light bulbs to compact fluorescent bulbs. A few energy conservation tips that I'd like to share. Always maintain your air conditioning and furnace equipment. Clean your air filters before every season. You can save a lot of money by just setting your thermostat a few degrees higher in the summer, a few degrees lower in the winter time. And Pepco offers home energy audits. We'll have a specialist come out to your home, perform checks on your windows, doors, and insulation to make sure that your home is as energy efficient as possible. If you're interested in this type of work, Pepco has a number of careers related to science, technology, and math. We have a great engineering intern program that usually results in a job offer. We have a large information technology group that utilizes engineering and math.